fucking back. We are back with Paradise Valley Podcast, joined by my co-host, Pat Jamross. I'm Caleb Hall.
The boys are back. What is up, Valley?
The boys are back in town. Oh, what a classic. Our producer, S5 Ep1, what's up?
What's up, boys? Glad to be back.
Ready to hit some bombs tonight in softball out here?
Definitely down to hit some bombs. I'm watching
Pretty
the
sure
Yankees do the same.
Pretty sure that's the class song for Sandman and the boys.
That thought went through my head. I think it is as well. A classic. All right, well, before these guys go to play softball, we've got important business to attend to. We're bringing back the pod. We're going to start it off doing some power rankings. Going to jump into some hot takes from each of the three of us. And then from there, we're going to finish up with a look at week 7.
Long overdue to be back. Talking with the co-host, it feels like it won't be every week, but we'll trickle in some shows here and there for the fans.
Absolutely. Well, especially things are spicing up. We can probably get a couple in here in the next month or so. So let's jump into it. How do we want to do power rankings?
Well, I got both years coming in separately, except I think I forgot. No, I think this was yours.
All right. So
should we pull them both up and just kind of talk through?
We could.
Let's do it.
Same top four.
Yeah,
I noticed that. And same bottom too.
Pretty same page. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, for sure. I think the only difference really is that you've got yourself at 5 and I've got you at 8 or at 7 here. Yeah, so for me, obviously the Trippers have a good squad. They've got Chubb, CMC. I don't know if he's going to get traded, but honestly, either way, I still like him for the rest of the year. Sandman, I got to see it firsthand last week, and I got the Trippers this week. So tough one too, but Sandman, his wide receivers, especially if Pittman can keep getting the ball down across the middle of the field. Ryan looked good. Pittman looked great. So we'll see what happens when JT gets back. It's going to be big, but I like the depth Sandman has with Hill, JJ, and Pittman, obviously. And then his running backs have proven, Jacobs has been one of the surprises of the year. So got to give credit where it's due. I was one of the people shitting on his team on draft night. So I'll own that one. I've got him firmly in the top 4 here.
I think we were all on that board, but he's made us pay. Yeah, but I overall, I think top 2 is in its own tier right now with points scored and just looking at the team. If you're facing them heading into it, they're putting some fear in you. Trippers, running backs. I don't know how he does it. He does it every year. He did draft 4 running backs in a row, but just the fact that Breece Hall has become what he has, Chubb's the number 1, number 2, whatever he is now, running back, and CMC's staying on the field. That's massive. The thing that sticks out for me for the Trippers is the 49ers guys on his team haven't hit expectations. So if they do that, it's it feels like the Trippers have their championship squad that they've been searching for the first 5 or so years in the league. And Sandman, it's a hell of a bounce back, from the clown suit the day of to drafting a team that everyone was saying you're heading back into the clown suit, and to have the most points through 6 weeks by 40 or so. He's got himself a squad, and both teams, I can't see them not, continuing this success down the road.
100%. Yeah. Quickly, I'll say on my team and Dabs, I feel like me and Dab are honestly in both pretty similar spots with solid teams. I look at Dab's team and I definitely am yeah, that's a pretty solid team. I haven't gotten a trade in there with them yet, but there's been some conversation, so we'll see if that happens. But overall, kind of similar to Sam. I like that wide receiver core of Higgins, Waddle, Mike Will, Kenneth Walker bursting onto the seams, huge. And then for me, I like my team. Obviously, a couple of tough losses back to back. Big one against Kirch this week, so we'll see how we ride it out. Going from 3-1 to 3-4 wouldn't be ideal, but team's talented, so we need Pitts to turn it around. We need Sutton to kind of pick it up, and hopefully Wilson will pick it up. But getting Dak back for CD should help. Damian Pierce trade was huge. Feeling good about where we're at. I think that top 4, obviously, we both have the same top 4, so.
Yeah, and I think
the conversation starts at 5 for me.
Yeah, I'll quickly say on 3 and 4 that if you polled me week 2 through 4. I don't think I would have had these both you two at 3 and 4, but obviously Penny going down has just escalated Kenny Walker into that almost RB1 tier, and the Pierce trade, Ramondre really coming out, and Mostert kind of taking over at that job. It's a deep roster for the Sundays. It'll be interesting to see what Dap does. I feel like there's always hype around his roster after draft night, and it's a little bit deeper into the season. But let's see if the man can handle some pressure. And we've been talking some trades as well, and some say it may get done tonight.
Wow, I can't even follow that one up. All right, why are you a 5? Why are you higher than both 4 and 2 teams?
I'll start with this. You got to have confidence in your own squad. When you look at the Cobras, I mean, we're coming off absolutely heartbreaking loss. I mean, anyone who stayed up to watch that is just shocked. He was FaceTiming me going into OT. He's like, dude, you won that. And I was like, still needed 1.1. He's like, you're going to get 1.1. And just for the series of events that took place, and even before that, the second half, Russell Wilson had 15 yards. I get he's been bad, but like that is like really bad. And so you take that away, I could easily be 3-3. And then you look back into the past, Sheehan had a wild Monday night with Diggs and Allen. So a couple Monday nights change. I'm 4-2. And I really like what I've put together. A few injuries with Brown isn't ideal, but I love my wide receiver room. I got the number 1 running back in football right now. It comes back to who would have projected it. And I read an article by Field Yates today. It's just like, every single year they preach wait on QB, wait on QB, wait on QB. And it's like, it's just a fucking wasteland out there. So if I can plug and play and figure out the QB room and pull out a few wins, this part of the schedule, the dogs are coming in hurt. We got Dappy next week. That's not ideal, but then Lane, if I can go 2-1 in that stretch, head into week 10, 4-5, I think I'm right in the thick of it. And then when I look at the Silver Knights, he's put up some points. He's got a solid record, but he's got 3 guys. That's plain and simple what the Silver Knights are right now. They're Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and Travis Kelce. Yeah, they may be 3 of the top 7 players in fantasy right now, and that's just a way to win. But I don't think it's sustainable. I think his lack of depth is terrible. DJ Moore is bad. He just dropped Allen. Yeah, this week is tough because he's missing those 2 guys. So it's almost like a guaranteed loss for Sheehan. And then I'm trying to pull up his roster. I can't even remember.
Can I just say one thing to mirror that is I think Dimmer has a very similar structured team. I think his whole team he's got one more guy, but he's got Hurts, who's been a menace, Mark Andrews, who's been a great tight end, Jonathan Taylor, who hasn't even been that great, but is a stud, and then Amon-Ra. And I guess DK's kind of putting up, but there's just not much. Like Deontay Johnson, that offense is weak. Melvin Gordon's his second RB. Connor's hurt a lot. Like, there's really not much depth there behind,
I agree.
If I'm on Dib's team. And they're both 4-2, so.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why I had Dimmer a little bit lower. He came out of the gate hot, and it's almost no fault to his own because he lost Rashard Penny, who was looking really solid. James Conner's gotten hurt, and he wasn't even really scoring the touchdowns like he was. So it's various, like you said, very similar constructed teams. They both went QB early. They took the first 2 tight ends off the board, which has clearly paid off. But I don't know, when I just look at that roster, I don't see playoff team. There's only so many times Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs and Kelce can combine for 77% of your points and you pull out a Monday night win. It's just, I feel like it comes back to bite you, and Allen's going to be the number 1 QB. It's going to happen. But, just the lack of other people scoring points for Sheehan, I think is going to come back to bite him. And I do like the ETN trade. I mean, Zeke had a big game, and Zeke's probably going to have a big game this week. But overall, I think ETN continues to progress. But I don't know. They just don't scream 4-2 rosters at me. That's why I had both of you ahead of them. This was mostly going off of roster construction and where you're at. So that's my thoughts. I know having the dogs that low will probably come back to bite me facing him. And then with D, he had a rough start. He hasn't even looked that great.
Yeah,
It
I
was
was gonna
kind of an
ask what you think about D's. Like you have him at 7, I have him at 8.
yeah,
I will say though, like looking at this now, especially like 5 through 8 was tough. When I did this at lunch today, I was kind of like, that's where I paused.
agreed.
I literally did the top 4, and then I did Lane and C Mac at the bottom, and then I sat there for a minute on the 4. So I can I don't hate your placement. Obviously, you're gonna put your back up. Now looking at this more, I kind of like wouldn't hate having U and D ahead of Dim and She. Even with the rosters, like things can turn quickly. So
Yeah,
I don't know. Very
agreed.
fluid in this part of the lineup for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, Darrow's made some bad moves, but he also just made a pretty good move in my mind. It doesn't look like Allen will play and he'll be on a bye. Um, I think it speaks more to Blaine's team, and we'll talk about that when we get to the bottom. But I still think there's the talent there to win some games. He's got Sandman on an absolutely great bye week, which could get him back to 3-4 and right back in the thick of it. And let me pull up his roster.
Who's
Let's
talking about D?
see. Yeah, I was looking at it. I mean, it's just solid. Like Devontae Adams, Chase, like that may be the best 1-2 wide receiver combination. Saquon Barkley is a top 3 running back this year. You got to think Herbert starts putting up some big numbers. Um, I think what kills him is just how many weeks he kept rolling out AJ Dillon. It's the Packers are pretty ugly, and I'm dealing with some running back problems there, but I still think Jones is the better back, and it feels like the coaching staff thinks that. Um, but overall, this guy's gonna. I mean, the Robinson move, he picked him up right before he came back. That seemed like good. He traded Melvin Gordon. Like, D's gonna make a bunch of moves. Some are gonna be good, some are gonna be bad. But overall, I just feel like this roster has the chance to go a little bit deeper and be a little bit more successful than the two that are really just riding on the coattails of two or three players right now.
For sure. All right, let's close out 9 and 10 real quick. I will say on C Mac's team, I think it's got a chance. Like looking at it, he's got a chance to make the playoffs. I won't rule him out. He's a 2-4. It's a pretty tight league this year. That doesn't feel like a true like dominant team. We talked about Kirchy's depth and how he's got some good lineup rolling out each week. But I think C Mac's got a chance, like especially with a guy like Lamar, Kamara, Dobbins, Mike Evans. Hawkinson can play consistently, and Juju takes advantage of his opportunity. Like Michael Gallup could be really good, especially if something happened to CD. But like, it's a lot of what ifs. I definitely Dobbins has struggled. Kamara's on and off. Mike Evans and that entire Bucks offense doesn't look great unless he scores touchdowns. So it's just a lot of what ifs for me, and you got to put someone at 9. And it was pretty clearly him for me. And then Lane is clearly just another bracket right now. I don't think there's much doubt. Like we're doing hot takes. I'm going to do a very like warm take and just say he's heading for the clouds, dude. It's pretty obvious to me.
Very easy. No, I completely agree with all that. I think Colin, just classic Colin, fell in love with his Ravens and went J.K. Dobbins, which just hasn't completely panned out. He did get hit with an injury bug in a sense, but we're week 7 of the NFL. Who hasn't? Lamar's a beast. Projected 25 freaking points, and it's like Colin's only at 106. Like that's hard to do if you're. That's nearly 25% of the projections are at Lamar right now. So
with 2 flexes now too.
Exactly, which is wild. I did want to just touch on the trade. The part that just really I just can't comprehend is where does Lane win this trade in his mind? Like what's the best case scenario? The best case scenario is DeAndre Swift's playing. So if DeAndre Swift's playing, then is Jamal Williams even startable? Maybe as a flex, but then you're just really diving in on the Lions offense, which obviously had a hot start, but it's still the Lions. It's still Jared Goff. And then okay, so then you have a handcuff. I think like best case for Lane is, you're playing DeAndre Swift, and then you're also rolling out Najee Harris, who is underperforming, but he's getting touches, targets. Those are so important in fantasy to get the rock. Obviously it's key with what you do with those touches. But I just don't see a situation where he wins it. Like if Swift goes out this weekend, gets hurt again, like can Lane be like, see, I won this trade? And it's like, yeah, like you did good, you got Jamal, but like you're also losing the fact that you got Swift. So, it's just a bona fide handcuff in a sense. I don't hate the more and more I look into the Cooper part of it with Keenan probably missing this week on bye next week. He could. I mean, huge part of Lane's season. If Lane's actually like, I want to make playoffs, I want to make a run, like he needs to win these next 2 weeks. And that's what he feels like he's gunning for. But I mean, I almost sent him the rankings and put the Carolina Panthers, who's the worst team in the NFL, at 10, and then Lane at 11 because that's how bad he's been.
Yeah, no, it's none of that's crazy. I personally don't hate the trade just because I don't love Najee Harris at all. I think that offense is really bad. I think Jalen Warren's getting more and more playing time. Najee's got the Liz Frank injury he's dealing with. There's just a lot going on there for me that, I mean, who knows if it's going to be Pickett or Trubisky, but it really doesn't even matter. They fucking suck either way. And Keenan Allen, it's like, how many years are we going to hear about injuries until he kind of just fades away? Mike Williams has looked great. Palmer's decent. I mean, they left a lot to be desired on the field Monday night, but I don't know if Keenan's going to be able to stay healthy, especially if you're saying I thought he was potentially going to be back last week. So to hear he might be out again, it's just, what the hell's up with this guy? Can he get on the field? Kind of like getting to a Kadarius Toney point.
For sure. No, I see both sides of it, but
that's just playing devil's advocate. I do think that D Brown won the trade, but just playing a little devil's advocate, I could see, especially the Pickens piece, the young upside there. Cooper's going to be pretty solid. I don't know. I just don't see how he improved at RB, except
that's
being really,
that's
really
where
safe.
I just don't.
And
yeah,
with being 1-5, do you really need to be safe? No, you need to fucking go for it. Balls to the wall, and he didn't. So he handcuffed himself, in my mind. And D Brown's got a more upside, and that 2-4, and that's what D Brown needs. So I think D Brown won the trade. I'm just kind of pointing out all sides of it.
No, I see it.
All right, let's get to hot takes.
I kind of struggled to come up with hot takes. I mean, I'm going to keep being Homer. Cobras make the playoffs, but no one wants to hear that. Another one that I kind of played around with, which isn't that much of a hot take, but first year with a new champ. Obviously, there's only been 4 guys who've hosted the trophy. 3 of them have done it multiple times. And again, that's not that hot when both of our power rankings are 2 of those guys. I do keep it on the Lane. I think Lane has the worst season in Valley history. I think it'll be shot. I mean, I think Sandman officially did it last year.
Lane, I want you to text us right now at this point in the podcast when you're watching and let us know how you're feeling.
I struggle to see this guy winning the game. It's a bad roster.
Yeah.
I kind of was playing around with the draft picks recently, like Cam Akers where it was, like that hurts, Najee in the first round. Just overall, like keeping Swift over Lenny. There's just a laundry list of moves that it's shocking to think that guy was in the championship last year. And then another, like, it's not that hot going off of my rankings, but 2 teams that are in the playoffs right now won't make it. I'm not guaranteeing it's Lane or Dim or Sheehan. You never know. Like the Sandman's never only guy in the league to not feel the pressure of playoffs. So like, who knows what happens? I think he's getting a little too complacent with his team, and it's hard not to. He's got the most points. He's really been winning games by a lot, 3 top scorers, but I think of that in that situation's out there trying to improve their roster. And I think Sandman's just this is what I got. I'm riding it till the end type of guy.
Yeah. I like it. A little smorgasbord of hot takes there.
Nothing that great, but
yeah, he made up for it with quantity, so that's what counts. I'm gonna go that both. Well, I had both, but then I realized there's 3 of them, 4 and 2 teams. So I'm gonna have to say which 4 and 2 teams. I think both. We talked about it. Sheehan and Demmer don't make the playoffs. That's my hot take. Kind of similar to yours of 2 teams not in the playoffs, not going to make it. I think them 2 specifically will drop off. I think Sandman's going to make the championship. That's my hot take. I don't think he's going to win it because I think I'm going to be there to beat him. But The hot take, Sandman, I think, is in for a long run. And then I think looking at players a little bit more, Josh Allen has just been like dominant at the QB level. Like he's got 172 fantasy points, which is 50 more than Joe Burrow, who's the 5th ranked QB right now. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Josh Allen falls off and doesn't end up as the number 1 QB. I think Jalen Hurts or Lamar are going to end up going.
What's number? How far
Lamar's
is
at 146, so he's like 25 behind Josh Allen. So Josh Allen's
that's
really
a bold take. Yeah,
he's been running away with it. I think he's going to fall off a little bit. He's got his bye coming up, and I think Buffalo's just a really good team. I think once they start to get their defense back, he's not going to have to throw the ball and run it specifically nearly as much. And I think they're going to try and rein him in and make sure he lasts because he's been taking some hits.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel like he's been really hot for Sheehan. I think he's going to fall off a little bit. And same with Diggs. Diggs is the number 1 wide receiver right now. I don't think he's finishing at 1. It's going to be either Kupp or Jefferson.
I like that. I do think the more and more the Bills win, the more and more, like you said, he's going to run less. And with all the rumors of CMC, like if they go out and get CMC, like in the second half, you're not throwing the ball, you're running it. So it'd be interesting to see like their schedule. Like they've already played the Chiefs, they've already played the Ravens, they've already played the Rams. You got to think that there's a lot of kind of easy opponents that they're not going to be playing a lot in the second half, but he didn't play in the second half against the Titans and still had like 35 points. So it's a give or take situation.
Yeah, no, for sure. But in those situations, do they rein it in a little bit? We'll see.
Yeah. Dappy, anything from your end?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Dappy,
I mean, I'm gonna show Lane a little love. I got Lane beating the Ravens Nest this week and sending the Ravens Nest heading down towards the clown suit. Like Colin's team, like you touched on a little earlier, like I had a shit week last week, and like any other team would have beat me, maybe not besides Lane's, but like I don't know, didn't get any text from Colin. Like I was talking about the Ravens game, Ravens Giants game, nothing. I was waiting for a text about a Gerald Everett TD, maybe winning him the game on Monday night, nothing.
I saw that.
That game got very I was getting sketched because Mike Will was getting no love, and like I was just waiting for the classic Colin text like Everett TD wins it, and then it fucking happens and there's just I don't know, the kid just doesn't seem as into it right now.
Doesn't care.
Lane is at least out there making moves, like trying to improve his team, even though it probably failed, but like. I just I could see Lane winning this one, and maybe neither one of them winning again the rest of the year. But
wow,
I think it would still come down to points though because we switched.
Oh yeah, I forgot we switched. Yeah.
Overall, I love that take. I think there's no one in the league that the people would rather see in the clown suit, and I'm with you. Where's C-Mac at? Like when he's winning, he's all in your face, and everyone agrees with me on this. He's the toughest guy to talk trades. He doesn't even get back to you. He'll just say nah and like not even try to have a discussion. And that'll be hours later. So I love that, Dap.
Yeah. Kid's too busy slinging cars. Give the Valley some love.
Jimmy G.
All right, let's have a preview. Let's look at that scoreboard. I'm going to pull it up on my end too. You want to look at that first matchup real quick, Ross?
Yeah. I mean, Dap just touched on it a little. Oh, no, this is a different one. Wow. Selfie Spartans 119. That's a hell of a projection. I think we kind of went with how Sheehan's going to be hurting with 2 of his 3 top dogs out. Man, Khalil Herbert, he's rolling him out. Cooks.
He had a nice
DJ
trade offer
Moore
to improve his team, and Sheehan laughed at me.
I mean, yeah, Sheehan's the toughest guy in the league to trade with. And then
you said C-Mac was.
No, C-Mac's the toughest. No, C-Mac's the toughest guy to have conversations with. Once you kind of rein him in, he'll actually talk. Sheehan's just like in left field until his season's basically over. Then he's like, yeah, why not trade Jamar Chase? when I'm
Yeah.
out of the playoffs. But the fact that he's rolling out 2 Chicago Bears, like the panic button should be hit. Especially when he's got the Patriots D going. So it's like, what do you want to happen in that Monday night situation? I think this is an easy win for Dap. I love the Henry Fournette, Kenneth Walker combination. We'll see if Kenny can continue the success he had. Um, T. Higgins, like the guy's a stud, a ton of talent, but it's like he's got something else every single week, and you wanted him to just stay on the field. Mike Williams is. I saw it today. He's either gone over 100 yards and had a touchdown, one of the two, or had less than 20 yards this season. So it's like the ultimate boomer bust guy for you. But when you got those 2 other dogs, it's easy to throw him in the flex. And I do like Dappy's depth. He's got Kareem Hunt, Damian Harris when he comes back. He's got a nose for the end zone. So this feels like Dappy's best squad, but he's got the same issue that the Cobras got. He's the QB wasteland. Geno Smith, 19.4. He came back to reality last week, and I think he continues to come back to reality. There's a reason this guy's been a backup for like 5 straight years. But with all that said,
He's looked so good.
Easy
though.
win
It's
for
crazy.
Dap.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I could just go through Sheehan's team and absolutely rip it apart right now, but I won't, because like once you get below, I mean, ETN is respectable, but everything else besides Kelsey out there, it's like you could make an argument he'd be sitting in both me and Kirch's lineup in that matchup.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you could easily make an argument that he's got one person that would be starting in our matchup. Anyways,
I mean, you look at it, it's Diggs, Allen, Thielen, Henderson. I mean, the last 2 aren't like stars, like position rank 31 and 37. But still, I think he would be playing them. Classic that he has Odell Beckham. I saw he may not be back until the middle of December. Like,
it's a tough week for Shea. Good. I'd be feeling good if I was Dap.
I think we can move on to the next one, but as we do, I think that's what's great about us folks at 2 and 4, 3 and 3. Like the fact that Sandman's projected for 96 and Sheehan's projected for 90. If I can pull out the dogs and other 2 guys lose, like we got ourselves a tight league.
Yeah, 100%. All right, looking at this matchup, you just alluded to it. Big bye week for Salmon, Sam Machine, with Jefferson, Singletary, Miles Sanders, all on bye. And then he's still got Mahomes and Josh Jacobs in decent matchups, but starting out here, MVS. Christian Kirk, I mean, he scored a touchdown late last week, but he wasn't really doing much the last couple of weeks besides that. So we'll see how he comes around. Waller, he's hurt, coming off injury. We'll see what happens there. I don't know. I don't love starting 2 Raiders, but it feels like 2 years in a row that Trev's been doing it.
3 years he's had Waller.
Yeah, 3 years he's had Waller, but I think last year he had another Raider he's starting. Maybe it was Renfro or something. Nevertheless, I mean, he's still got Hill and Pittman in there, so there's that upside that I think this gives him a little bit more of a chance than I'm giving Sheehan, or a lot more of a chance than I'm giving Sheehan, even though the rankings or the odds don't love him. I still think Sandman's got somewhat of a chance, but Chases are at full health. Chase, I think he's due for a big blowout or blow up game against Atlanta, especially. Devontae Adams is kind of in the same boat there. He's kind of been quiet. So both of them could blow up. Bateman hopefully is back for him. We'll see what he can do. Keenan Allen, same boat. I got to it a little bit earlier. I don't love Najee Harris. I don't know what it is. I mean, Miami's defense isn't that special, but I don't love Najee Harris. So we'll see how that works out. He'd been starting A.J. Dillon, so it's not like he's going to be doing much worse than A.J. Dillon's been doing. I don't know. The rest of the bench, Drake London, Brian Robinson, he could give one of them a go if Allen's out. So just a much more solid lineup this week for D Brown, but I think this one's got a chance to go the opposite way of projections versus the other one. I think is pretty ironclad in my mind.
I like that, and you could easily see those 2 flexes not playing with Bateman and Allen. That changes the dynamic a little bit.
Yeah, And I mean, London and Robinson are solid, but they're not, Keenan Allen level when he's fully healthy.
For sure.
I'm going to give it to D Brown, but you never know with Sam, man. He could have some Monday night magic.
I mean, Tyreek could throw up 35. Like that's the type of guy he is.
He doesn't have anyone playing Sunday night. Tyreek.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
Tyreek versus Najee.
Sunday night, Sam, man. Watch out, D Brown. Calling it here. What do we got next, Dappy? We talked about this one a little bit. Let's see the actual breakdown here, Ross.
Yeah, let's look into it. I mean, you got to think Brady's going to eventually have himself a big game, and why not with the Carolina Panthers, worst team in the NFL. I think Lane had the chance to sell high on Clyde with the early success he's had, and it's just he doesn't get enough touches to be an RB even 2 type level. He's very touchdown dependent. Lockett, I mean, he made the move for Cooper. Montgomery hasn't been bad, but I don't know. He went from having 2 Steelers to having 2 Steelers. We kind of all, it's one of the worst offenses in the league, not someone you really want to be investing in. And then you look at Mac, Lamar's a stud. You got to think Elvin's going to have himself a big night with how many wideouts are hurt on the Saints. I just don't think they're taking J.K. Dobbins slow. And you kind of saw it with Saquon last year off the ACL. They're just not the same player. And sometimes it takes a full year back in the league to get that knee comfortable and feel comfortable cutting. But, I don't love Dobbs. I don't love Juju. Gallup's has that connection with Dak. But looking into it, I kind of like the ACL tears. I think Brady has a big week. I think the Lions are probably down against Dallas, and Swift's a hell of a catch and running back. And Coop's probably going to be down against the Ravens throwing. So I could see him having some garbage time type situations. And then it comes down to Montgomery on Monday night, probably needing like 13 or so. And I could see him falling into the end zone and pulling off the upset.
So you think the worst team in Valley history pulls off the upset this week? Is how I'm
I'm
hearing,
all over
Stephen
the place. That's Stephen A for you.
I love it. No, I mean, I hear you. Falling into the end zone for an ugly, ugly win. That feels like this type of matchup. So we'll see what happens here. Not worth drawing too much more air over it. It's going to be an ugly one. Probably will be irrelevant for the rest of the year. So, all right. Big one here for you and Dim. I mean, we talked about it. Dimmer at 4-2. Kind of feels like he's hurting. The dogs are wounded. Are they going to come out hunting, or are they going back to the kennel quietly? We'll see. Tua coming back against Pittsburgh. That feels like could be an ugly-ass game with knocked out Tua coming back. I don't know how much I love it. Kind of same boat with JT coming back. Going to be a tough division game against the Titans. Is JT going to be great? Like Melvin Gordon, he's starting. How much do you trust Nathaniel Hackett after watching him in primetime for the last 6 weeks? I trust him fucking -3. Like he fucking looks like I wouldn't trust him in the lingerie league. Like he seems like a bad coach. So I don't know if I'd be rolling out Melvin. DK, good matchup against the Chargers, but Chargers D is getting healthier. I don't know. He feels like he's touchdown dependent. Amon-Ra coming back. But Dallas's D, again, has been solid. And Mark Andrews has been really good, but his 2 flex options with Deontay and Alex Pierce, I just don't love Dim's roster. I think I harped on it a lot earlier. So I'll admit it. I was rooting against Pat this last week, but I think I'm rooting for him this upcoming week, especially having Dimmer at 4-2, getting him to 4-3 and having someone at 3-4. I think just evening out the league, giving it some parity would be good. And I also just unbiasedly like the matchups as well. Eckler's been the best RB in the league, especially the last 2 weeks. He's really turned it on. And Seattle's a good
2
matchup.
yards.
We'll see what Eno does tonight. How you feeling about Eno tonight?
I mean, Connor's not ruled out yet. but if he plays, he got like 17 touches. I feel comfortable he can get close to that projection.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Godwin Olave a lot, as Pat knows. I've been hitting him up a bunch, but no deal yet. And then Joku, I mean, he's been probably the breakout tight end of the year in a very tough position. I mean, you listen to some of the fantasy analysts, and it's pretty clear, like, having a top tight end this year is really, really helpful. And there's few and far between, and finding Joku on the roster or on the waiver wire was huge. And Aaron Jones in the flex spot, I mean, obviously hasn't been great, but having that, having him as a flex and Garrett Wilson as well, even with Hollywood out and Gabe on bye and AJ Brown on bye, there's some depth there. Obviously, Ross hurting a little bit, projected to lose by a couple points, but I'm gonna give him the upset W. Get him to 3 and 4. I see it. The gods were against you last week, brother. I think
they really were.
Hasn't Mark Andrews not practiced 2 days in a row too?
Love that.
Wow,
Yesterday was
really
for rest.
It was really questionable.
But the reason I really needed that win and why it hurt so much is just looking at this roster, knowing that Brown was going to be out for weeks, knowing Brown and Davis were going to be on buys. But then the more I started looking at this matchup, I didn't hate it. I think it's going to be a tight one. I think tonight's, again, primetime Ross. It's going to be Benjamin and Olave. And I think game
You're
script's
kind of like
the
Kirk Cousins of the league in that regard, aren't you?
On Monday nights, Thursday and Sunday nights usually go pretty smoothly. But yeah, I think hopefully game script goes good where the Cardinals are running the ball in the second half and the Saints are throwing it. But it comes down to Aaron Jones. Like, when is he gonna have? He doesn't need to have that 30-point game he had week 2. Just like a consistent 12 to 15. Find in the end zone. Like, he's an efficient runner. He gets a bunch of yards. They just don't give him enough touches. And classic Packers, they just like to throw it from the 1-2 yard line. But I can't play Russ. It's not happening right now. It's Jimmy G. Chase Claypool may sneak in over Garrett Wilson, but this is a must win. Gotta have it. Celtic Spartans on the schedule. Good roster next week. So gotta get to 3 and 4 and see if we can claw our way back to 500.
I like it. Dem dogs, back to the kennel. Book it.
Those dogs are getting spayed. Yeah, so I mean, this one feels like the primetime matchup of the week. 2 top 4 power rankings teams. Good rosters, easily the highest projections between the two. And I know we've touched on Kirch's roster a lot. It's going to be interesting. If he rolls out Dak Prescott. It's funny that the Cowboy and Ravens fan both have a lot of shares of Cowboys and Ravens. I think that was a good pickup. He actually drafted Dak, dropped him, picked him back up. Now he's got 2 pretty good QBs. But to roll him out first game, I get the matchup's great, but it feels a little risky in that aspect. But CMC, I also don't love CMC against the Bucks. Bucks are great defense, and
they're pissed off too.
His QB sucks. Off. Yeah. And Chubb isn't interesting just for how its game flow you think is going to project, where Ravens will probably have a lead, and how long are the Cleveland Browns just going to be running it? Hopkins getting the start, coming back. Like, is he going to play a full workload? I would have to think he's probably going to get pulled off the field, but it seems like he's in pretty good shape. But I love the San Fran guys. I think it's the Chiefs. The Niners are going to be throwing the ball all day. And who are they going to be throwing it to? Probably Debo and Kittle. I think Kittle probably
finds... so he's starting Jimmy G.
No, but this is just unbiased. I think Kittle finds the end zone.
There's some bias behind
it. Yeah.
But, a sneaky little take is I think Breece Hall is a pretty bad game. Denver's D is, really good. We've all had to watch them week after week shut teams down and still lose because of Russ. Zeke's got himself a good matchup. So, I mean, it's 119 feels appropriate. Let's take a look at the Sundays. Obviously, he's big on the Cincinnati Bengals. Atlanta, pretty good matchup. Ramondre, pretty good matchup. CD, pretty good matchup. Portland Sutton, it's like, who knows with Russ Wilson. He's rolling Pitts back out there. This guy's the most interesting guy in fantasy football. Consensus top 4 tight end heading into the year. Just doesn't play, doesn't get touches. Finally found the end zone. Hopefully that's the silver lining for him. And maybe they're down. Tony P getting the start, that'll be an interesting aspect. If he does, Zeke versus Pollard. And Pierce, I saw a quote from the coach, Lovie Smith. He said he's got to have 20 touches a game. So I think I'm giving the edge to the Sundays, to be honest. I don't love some of the matchups for the trippers. And, I think some of these guys are going to go pretty below projections. And it's going to be a tight one. I think it's going to be in the teens, right where it says it was. And I think Sundays pull out like a 119, 114 type W.
Yo, Kirch, if you watch this, hit me up. I'll put $50 on this matchup straight up.
Wow. Straight up.
That's my take on it. And Tony P might not be in the starting lineup. It could be Ayuk. It could be Mostert. It could be Rashad Wright. He's been pretty, he's been good. Jeff Wilson against KC. I've got 5 guys I'm confident rolling out there. So it's going to be a surprise to see what we take down. There we roll out to take down the Dragons here. Trip sauce is not rolling this week.
You're going to regret that if DeAndre puts up 20 tonight before this even comes out.
Yeah,
I feel like no matter what
he goes
Hopkins
off for
puts up,
25 plus,
Charles got to take it.
No,
yeah.
You're not gonna put this out until tomorrow, so I will pay you a couple bucks to edit it out.
Just this little.
No, I'm just kidding. I'll bet it either way. It's 6:26 right now, so.
Word.
Kurt, if you're out there listening, ever hit me up.
I think that's it, boys.
That's it.
That's
cool.
Oh yeah, that's
I saw one last stat that I wanted to throw out there. And it feels right just looking at matchups last week. Fantasy scoring's been down 22%. So, the fact that the Trippers and Sandman are putting up the points that they do is impressive. And, some of us at the bottom of the league, it kind of makes sense.
100%. Yeah. There's some big names out there playing this tonight. So let's get down to it. Week 7. Hard to believe it's already week 7. I saw that and I was like, wow, is it really week 7? But it is. It's here.
Flies by.
Time flies when you're having fun, man. It's been a blast so far. Tight league. Everyone's into it except for C-Mac, but that's all good, man. Like, it's in for a good year. We'll be back with another podcast soon. Good luck to you guys in softball. Anything you guys else want to close out with?
I got the Astros in a 4-game sweep.
Fuck you.
And go Cobras.
How was the Yankee bar in Quincy last night, Dappy?
Didn't end up going because that fucking guy had to take care of his kids.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, that's a lame way to close out, but
all right. Lose at home.
Enjoy Thursday Night Football. We'll see you all this weekend at some point, and peace out.
Peace.
See you, Valley.